I've come to Hampstead, a suburb in the north of London, and this is Hampstead Cemetery. It's a first time visit here, and we're just going to walk around and explore some of the memorials. On the right hand side as we come in is this one to Sir Cyril Arthur Pearson, the first Baronet of St Dunstan's. A very large angel sat here with the book open, probably the largest angel I've seen in any of these cemeteries. And as always, you find that they leave a foot protruding from the bottom of the gown. Seems to be almost invariably with angels, you have these toes at the bottom of the gown. We have a large solid obelisk here, and at the base we have the memorial to Andrew Fisher, who was born in Cross House in Ayrshire, died in London, Privy Councillor and Prime Minister of Australia 3 times. A metal sculpture mounted in this stone. Underneath it reads, "For here have we no continuing city, but we seek one to come." A quotation from Hebrews. And the name on the left hand side is Harry Robert Fisher. Extraordinary large memorial here, and the name above the arch is to Bianchi. Here we have the mourning lady. It's not an angel, there's no evidence of wings. The mourning woman with a wreath. There's the urn, and there's a book, open book, and it's in memory of Herbert Henry. Samuel James Wawell, armourer and collector, 1926. Well, this one's actually got 3 angels on the top of the memorial, and the name is Mordaunt Allen Gwyn. Just a little comment on this one. Garnet Howard Mordaunt, and then Elsie Mordaunt, one of 5 sisters. I don't know whether that's important or not. It's a little more information than we get on many of these stones. Those that understand Polish will understand a lot more about this, but I see under his name, Stanislaw, I see he's General W.P. Whether that's an army general or not, I'll leave it for others to find out. There's quite a number of Polish graves in this corner of the graveyard. Just to show you a few. One here to a chap called Veruvius Wyatt, and CE afterwards, which I assume is chartered engineer or civil engineer, 1824 to 1897. Next to it is one that mentions doctors, Samuel Osborne Habershon, MD, and also his son Samuel Herbert Habershon, MD. Next door to that is another one which mentions a doctor surgeon. On the left hand side, Thomas Gilbert Smith, MD, FRCP. Interesting name above it, Sarah Figgis. Not a common name at all. Over here is one of the most solid stone crosses you'll ever see. It is massive, it must weigh several tons, and in front of it we have a very mournful looking person, although somebody has put flowers in their hands. The memorial on the left hand side is to Emma, the beloved wife of Henry Cadbury Brown. On this one, under the Celtic cross, we have a figure of a woman, and the memorial is to Mary, the wife of John Page. So is this a likeness of Mary? Here we have a war grave. Engineer Lieutenant Commander J.B. Hyde, Royal Navy, 1918, HMS Sable. A little unusual because the plaques have been screwed on later. The top one is certainly metallic, and it's to Walter Arthur Ryder, who died aged 18 in 1901. And right the way down it is to the members of the Ryder family. This makes a lovely change from all the mournful angels and sorrowing people we see in the stonework. This one is clearly happy and dancing away. This large tomb is dedicated to the Grand Duke Michael Mikhailovich of Russia. Alongside him is Sophie, Countess of Torby. And we're back to the sorrowing women. Here's Hugh Cecil Lee, Oxfordshire Light Infantry, and also MP for East St Pancras, 1906 to 1910. One here that you wouldn't normally notice, except that has a blue plaque put up for it. And it's to tell you that the grave is for Albert Eustace Short, an aircraft pioneer. Now, if you know anything about the early aircraft, Short Brothers was a very famous company. I believe they were based out in Belfast later, but very big in the development of flight. So here is one of the Short Brothers. Alongside, again, a grave you wouldn't notice without the board to tell you, and this is another brother, Horace Leonard Short, one of the Short brothers. We always like these mourning maidens. This one's looking rather glum and fed up with life, with her hand on her chin. There's a memorial here, tilting at a bit of an angle, but it's to Robert Steele, naval architect and consulting engineer, eldest son of Robert Steele, a shipbuilder and engineer from Greenock in Scotland, and his widow, and also the younger son, James Steele. As we move into the graveyard, there are some areas that have been left to grow wild, which I quite like. Lets wildlife do what wildlife does. And the stones, you could reach them if you wanted to. Covered with ivy. There's an area here which has a lot of open space, a lot of small stones, but also I notice several war memorials. One is to F.A. Robinson, Suffolk Regiment, aged 18. Next door, G.H. Franklin, Durham Light Infantry. J. Smith, Royal Army Service Corps, late Border Regiment, aged 22 in 1918. And over here is another Smith, W. Smith, West Yorkshire Regiment, 1917. Just spotted a couple more over the back here. This one has faded quite badly, and I'm not able to get the regiment from that. And this one also is fading. I've got here K or R.S. Norton, wireless officer and air gunner. And there's another one over here, almost covered by this mass of brambles. It's facing into the brambles. I don't know whether I can get round there to get a picture of the inscription. To J.C. Stewart. This is another wireless operator, air gunner. It must have been a sort of a joint occupation. Royal Air Force, Auxiliary Air Force. So I guess they couldn't carry too much crew on board the planes. So you not only operated the wireless, but you used your gun to protect yourself or bring down other planes. Another large carved angel here. This one deep in prayer. And there's no name on that part of the memorial, but there is down here. Frank Himser. It's interesting the way the war graves just get tucked away amongst all the other older looking graves. And here's one standing out because of the white Portland stone. But sadly the inscription has all but faded. I don't think I've ever seen this before on the war memorial stones. It must be that in this cemetery the memorial mason used a particularly soft version of the stone, because normally they hold their inscriptions very well indeed. And yet another sorrowing maiden. Not an angel, there's no wings. Sorrowing maiden. We don't see sorrowing men. They're always buxom ladies. This one is to Dolph Eric Reiser, born 1898 in South Africa, painter, printmaker, scientist and teacher. One here to Bannister and Fletcher. Bannister Fletcher, JP, DL, VD, FRIBA, CC, MP, North West Wiltshire, Professor of Architecture, King's College London, Master of the Worshipful Company of Carpenters, Colonel to the Tower Hamlets Reserve Regiment, and so on. And down here, more details about other members of the family. Bannister Fletcher. An interesting inscription on this memorial. This is to John Kensett, a martyr for the cause of Christ, having been struck down by the missile of an assassin in Birkenhead, aged 30 years. And finally a group of 4 war memorials. I'll just finish on these. This one is to H.R. Waterman, South African infantry, aged 31. And at the bottom it says, in memory of my dear husband for king and country. Next in line is McKinnon, Canadian Pioneers. Alongside him is Dearden, 8th Battalion Canadian Infantry. And finally is C. Stokes, Veterinary Corps, died aged 33 in 1915. Well, that's a brief introduction to the cemetery at Hampstead. Certainly a lot to see and a lot of interesting memorials. If you've got the time, do come and have a look. It's worth exploring. I haven't even really scratched the surface of what is here. Anyway, that's it from Hampstead. Till the next time.